Korporatizam, kako ga vidi profesor Jeffrey Grupp, ne ispunjava samo težnju za profitom, već zadire u svaku poru života i u svoj biti predstavlja psihološku kategoriju, jer ljudima kroz korporativne medije nameće stav da korporativni sustav predstavlja najnaprednije društvo. Na primjer, da je normalno raditi 10 sati na dan u korporaciji i potom kupovati neprirodnu hranu punu umjetnih aditiva koje su proizvele korporacije u trgovačkim centrima koje pripadaju korporacijama. Na večer taj homo sapiens, iscrpljen od rada za korporaciju, gleda korporativnu televiziju s političkim vijestima o potezima vlade čiji su članovi sad u vladi, a prije i poslije na čelu neke korporacije. Kad takav život drastično naruši zdravlje, čovjek odlazi po medicinsku pomoć da bi dobio skupe, neučinkovite i štetne lijekove korporacije. Korporatizam nije od jučer. 30. godina 20. stoljeća ta je ekonomska strana fašizma, koja se temeljila na spoju jake, centralizirane, nedemokratske vlade i velikih korporacija, bila vrlo popularna, a danas je u praksi prisutnija nego ikad. U knjizi Korporatizam profesor Jeffrey Grupp govori o porobljavanju i uništavanju ljudske svijesti od strane monopolističkih svjetskih korporacija koje kontroliraju sve resurse. Zemlju, rat, zdravlje, informacije, hranu, prijevoz, vodu, poštu, obrazovanje, razmišljanje. U kojoj ste mjeri robovi korporatizma, saznajte ovdje, na rubu znanosti. Dobro večer. Profesor filozofije Jeffrey Grupp stiže s koleđa Henry Ford u Detroitu u Michiganu. Autor je više znanstvenih članaka u prestižnim znanstvenim publikacijama i također je predavao 5 godina na prestižnom sveučilištu Purdue, a između ostalog danas radi na Henry Ford koleđu i autor je više knjiga od kojih je ona kojom se večeras bavimo, Korporatizam. Dobro večer.
Good evening.
Što to jest korporatizam zapravo?
Corporatism is when big governments, military, and business all become one force. This is the dominant political structure of the world as far back in history as anybody can see. We're usually told that there's democracy and communism and socialism and so forth, but really it's always just one system. If it's a medieval king back in the Dark Ages, they will have, the king will own the military and will own the food production, for example. That's corporatism, where these forces of business, military, and government become unified. This is the dominant structure all over the world today. In the recent past, such as Nazi Germany, Stalin's Russia, United States of America today, and so forth. But most people don't know this because they're not told about it. But this is the dominant political force.
Od kada datira suvremeni korporatizam kakvog danas poznajemo?
It's a very recent phenomenon for anybody to discuss this. Conspiracy theorists in America have brought this to light, and I have with my book, Korporatism, Secret Government of the New World Order. But however, this has been virtually unknown, even though we can see it with our eyes. We can all see the government and the military and industrial forces unified. Nobody's really thought about it much to where we identify it as the issue dominating our lives, controlling our behaviors and controlling how our lives are structured and so forth. So it's very new, and politicians in America, in television in America, the main television will not discuss it at all.
Spominjete 3 faze korporatizma. Od 19. stoljeća do danas nije uvijek bio jednako vidljiv. Možete li obrazložiti te svoje teze? Koje su to faze bile?
Right, there was a first stage of corporatism, which started just after the Civil War in America, and that's when politicians started to come in and take over, just put themselves in government, big business owners would put themselves in government positions. So that means the people with the most money were in government, controlling government, so therefore running it from the big money interests. Then that was roughly the same level of corporatism until 9/11. Then things really accelerated dramatically. And in my book, Korporatism, which was published in 2006, I predicted that in 2008 we'd enter the next level of corporatism, triggered by a financial collapse. And interestingly, that prediction did turn out to be correct, which surprised even me a little bit because it was exactly right on what the book predicted it would be. So the second phase of corporatism just is a ramping up, further increase in power of corporations. And now we're in the third phase, which was triggered by the economic collapse. Then we will see all-out power by corporations. And in America, we've seen the government has taken over the auto industry, for example. You've had huge amounts of money taken out of taxpayers' hands in America, given to the banks, and they throw wild, extravagant parties. There's signs everywhere that corporatism is increasing dramatically, which means more power to the big corporations, less for the people. So it's very much a medieval feudal structure. You've got the power players on top with all wealth, all control, and then the people on the bottom who have less and less down to nothing.
Prvenstveno se bavite, naravno, Amerikom, od kuda stižete, Sjedinjenim Američkim Državama. Pišete u knjizi da Amerikanci misle da su slobodni, ali to nisu. Na koji način bi se to mogli obrazložiti?
Americans are told that they're free from the day they enter school. Children enter school at about 5 years old in America, and they're told that they're free, that America is what's called a democracy. And they go on, they're told this every day in their churches and their schools and on television. So when they get to adulthood, they just believe this, and everybody thinks it's true. It's something that everybody says they know. But in fact, if you go ask somebody to show me how an American is free, nobody can prove it at all. And in fact, people in America, they don't get to choose how long their work week is. They're all in their jobs all the time. Americans are working 40, 60, 80 hours a week in many cases. And most Americans will tell you in their work environment, I'd rather be doing something else. I'd rather be spending time with my children. I'd rather be doing anything else other than this. And so that doesn't sound very much like a free society to me. Now, take other examples. Industrial products, types of cars, types of food and so forth that Americans would like to buy. Most people can't get what they want. Most Americans don't want a gas-powered car. They want a solar-powered car, for example. You can't buy one, even though they exist. They've been developed. It's kept real quiet in the mass media in America, but they exist. Companies in California have developed them. Types of food. Most Americans, even if they don't know anything about political issues, don't want chemical-filled food. It's hard to find it anywhere. Even organic food is filled with chemicals nowadays because the United States Congress said that to put organic, pure food label on food, it only has to be about 25% pure food. The rest of it can be filled with chemicals. So it's a huge deception. So in other words, there's no freedom anywhere in America, just a lot of people who think there is freedom.
Ekonomsko i povijesno poznavanje korporacija nas je već upoznalo sa idejom da je korporatizam nekakva vrsta spoja velike nedemokratske vlade i velikih tvrtki. To smo vidjeli i u Drugom svjetskom ratu, u nacističkoj Njemačkoj, pa i u Italiji pod okriljem fašizma. Čak i to bilo u to vrijeme u Europi dosta popularno i se činilo dosta efikasnim. No, ono što je novo kada vi govorite o korporatizmu jest što ga opisujete kao jednu psihološku kategoriju. Znači, to više nije samo ekonomski izraz spajanja institucija, nego on na neki način zadire u sve pore života. Na koji način je korporatizam interpretirate kao psihološku kategoriju?
Yes, that's an excellent question. The key issue about corporatism, yes, it's control of resources, and yes, it's control of, how much time we can spend with our families. That's all true. But the big thing that corporatism really is control of our consciousnesses. We think the things we do because we have limited information, specialized ways of life that we've been taught since we were very, very young. So therefore, corporatism creates our behaviors, our responses, our thoughts, and so forth. For example, in America, nobody would know that an avocado, for example, they never thought that it's shaped like a heart. It has special ingredients in it that are good for heart muscle, and it has also good for eyes, but it looks like a heart, and if you cut it in half, it looks like an eye. So it almost is as if an avocado is a supernatural substance created by some incredible intelligence as medicine for us. The average person in America has no idea what I'm talking about with it. They think it's a piece of matter with some chemicals which are roughly nutritious, and then you see how the difference is? They think one thing about an avocado versus the other. If you're an American Indian, for example, an avocado is a magical, sacred, food ingredient for, extreme health and extreme mental power. But in America, instead, they have all kinds of fabricated ideas, and so your psychology is constructed by big corporations. And in fact, the very things that we know, and the reason that spirituality is on the decline, or there's fabricated forms of spirituality in America, is specifically because people's minds are locked onto their television set, locked onto their ministers, locked into their schools, which all agree with everything on the big points. They all agree. It's just like in Orwell's 1984 when he said, everybody tells each other a lie, and so nobody knows they're telling each other a lie, so therefore the lie becomes the truth. It's the exact same thing going on in America, and so therefore there's not a free state, and the main thing that's not free is people's consciousnesses.
Kada pričamo o korporatizmu, nekome se može učiniti da je riječ o nekakvom prirodnom tijeku ekonomskih sila u liberalnom društvu, znači bogati žele postajati još bogatiji i vrlo često ljudi sve svode na trgovinu i na novac kada se priča o velikim korporacijama koje danas su već i bogatije od država. To je opće poznato. Međutim, vi navodite da iza tih korporacija i te ideje korporatizma zapravo stoji određena namjera, da nije sve proizvod ekonomskih sila, nekakvih spontanih težnji prema bogaćenju i slično. Mislite li, dakle, između spontanosti i namjere, s čim biste povezali korporatizam?
This is the big issue, the question you've just asked. Most people in America think, if they hear about government corruption, they say, oh, those, they just want to make money. That's not true. They control money. If they want more money, they can just run the printing presses longer and print more. Here's the question I have for you. Why do they make money in the ways that they do? Why do they use war to make money? Why do they use the big pharmaceutical industry's medicine, which just contaminates everybody? You name a cure for any disease in the last 50 years out of American medicine. There's none anywhere. So, I mean, why do they choose that kind of medicine? Why do they choose industries and means of selling products to people that always, in general, hurt people? So there's something far greater than just making money involved. I mean, there's some kind of pleasure or some kind of joy that the monopolistic corporatists have in trying to contaminate people, de-spiritualize people, take out their inherent spiritual innerness, construct their consciousness to be a shallow outer consciousness. So it's much greater than just trying to make money. It's about destruction of humanity. That's why the American Indians were so viciously targeted and put in the prisons or reservations, and then they put the nuclear waste dump right next to them to contaminate them. So it's much greater than making money. It appears to have to do with some kind of pleasure in destroying the essence of humanity.
Kako biste opisali filozofiju korporatizma? Ili ste je upravo opisali?
Well, that's a very deep question. Most people, and a very good question, most people on our planet don't find joy in these types of things. Imagine a vaccine. It has mercury in it, which completely damages a child. If you have mercury put in certain shots in two countries to the same level, the rate of autism goes up to the same degree in both countries. And there's many other arguments like that prove that vaccines are they're murder weapons. Okay? Now, what kind of a mentality would do this? This is not necessarily human in any familiar way. So the philosophy of corporatism is to take what is good and beautiful and invert it, and to take what is horrific and say that is beautiful. Oh, the war, in America they called the wars the war theater. Oh, that's curious. Remember the Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, they called that a laboratory. Now they're giving us little codes here that this is what is good and true and beautiful to them. So the philosophy, the psychology of the corporatists it's a sadomasochistic murder pleasure theater of some sort. It's an art form to them, to create the world as a big murderous art form. And it's very difficult to understand. We can see it because it's the world, but it's very hard to understand how destructive and dark it is.
Na koji način, tko su zapravo ti korporatisti? Tko su ti ljudi? Koliko ih ima? Kada pričamo o korporacijama, one su uvijek nekakva imena, logotipovi i slično. Međutim, pretpostavljam da postoje osobe koje stoje iza tih korporacija, koliko ih uopće ima i koliko je njihov utjecaj razgranat po svijetu.
Okay, the corporations, there's what's called the New World Order, which is widely discussed now. Even politicians in America will talk about the New World Order now. What the New World Order is a system that we all live in. The reason that the father can't spend more time with his children in America is because he has to go to work. In other words, go serve the New World Order system. The police run it, the professors run it, the court systems run it. Everybody works in this New World Order system. Okay, now the tools that are used to control this massive global system are the corporations. Now, behind those someone or something is running these. Now, it's not we know that there's what's called a CEO in America, and we think that this is the person that runs the corporation, and they'll be on TV with a big smiley face, act like a real nice guy and everything, while their corporation is, you know, responsible for contaminating or poisoning and killing millions of people or whatever they do, ruining life, ruining family structure, and so forth. Now, but it's not really clear that that CEO is the actual person that runs it, because if you look a little further, you find out that there's a board, what's called the board, a group of controllers behind the CEO that controls the CEO. Then it raises the question, who controls the board? And that's not really known. Nobody really, and it has to be somebody, because it's something. It's not, because all these corporations work together in unison. Why do all the big monopolistic corporations, why do they all destroy humanity? Why isn't there one out there that uses, you know, healthy food to make us live longer so they can make money off us longer? No, they don't do that. It's always about destruction. So it's almost as if they're acting together. So some very dark force is behind the corporations themselves, the human controllers behind them.
Kada pričamo o načinima kako se korporatizam održava u životu, zapravo pričamo o nekakvoj maloj grupici moćnih ljudi koji na neki način utječu na većinu populacije zemlje. Na neki način riječ bi bila o sustavu koji upravlja samim sobom. Pitanje bi bilo koje su to metode, taktike ili strukture smišljene pa da sustav može uopće tako funkcionirati da većina ljudi na neki način same sebe čuva od, da kažemo, same sebe čuva zaključene u kavezu.
The whole system is about that. If you go to a school, schooling is the best example. The average, if you have, look at an opinion poll in America of the most trusted people, you can go to pollingreport.com and they have all these opinion polls. You can see the most trusted people in America are nurses, college professors, and so forth. These people are the ones who are spreading the information, all this unverifiable, non-scientific information like global warming and so forth, to the masses. So a school is a perfect example. People are taught to trust it. They're taught, oh, the big oil leaders and the politicians, they lie to you. But not the school teachers over here. They're innocent and they mean well. They don't lie. When in fact, if they don't lie, then go show me global warming. Why can't I see it? It's colder where I live in America, Ann Arbor, Michigan. And instead, they want me to, I'm supposed to believe that it exists. Why can't they show me the facts of evolution? Why can't they show me the facts of the Big Bang? If I ask them, prove these things to me, they just give me a bunch of theories. So a school, they often will take things that are secretly look to be very kind and innocent, but they're actually the real weapons that go in and attack the heart and soul of a person.
U knjizi dajete puno primjera analize medija i analize vijesti. Zanimljivo je vidjeti, jer to se sve više zbiva i na europskom kontinentu i kod nas, a u Americi je prvo počelo, na koji način mediji orkestrirano rade, na koji način neke priče uzimaju i daju im veliki značaj, neke druge nikad ne spominju. Primijetio sam čak da ste na neki način počeli testirati istinitost vijesti upravo po tome da li se nalaze u korporativnim medijima ili ne. Drugim riječima, kakva je doista situacija prema vama vezana uz medije, uz vijesti, kako uopće čovjek može prepoznati što mu se nameće, a što skriva?
Excellent question. What you can see with your own eyes, you can verify to be real. If you can't trust that it's real. And most of the information in schools, to keep going talking about schools, is that type of information that you can't see. They'll say, please believe us that the Roman Empire existed at this specific time and fell because the Goths invaded. Just believe us. If I say, excuse me, teacher, can you prove this to me? No, is the answer. So the only way to actually know anything, and this goes for anybody in science, if you're a police officer, if you're working a court, a teacher, minister, anything, real information comes to us by what we can see. This is the essence of science, which philosophers like David Hume and René Descartes and so forth laid down for us, hundreds of years ago. But that's basically, even in the universities in America, it's basically completely forgotten. And it's all about theory and what big money can enter the picture to make someone certain kinds of harmful vaccines or whatever in the university. But So to answer your question, the most important thing I'll say today is that the only way to know anything is real is if you can see it. If you can't, you have to be skeptical of it, because someone can lie. If you believe what you can't see, someone can lie to you, trick you. That's why politicians in America get so angry, and they'll say it on television when someone's a skeptic, or when someone doesn't believe what they say, or when someone asks proof. A lot of people asked George Bush for proof before he invaded Iraq in 2003, and he never presented it. Why? Because it wasn't there. What if Americans in greater numbers said, no, we want proof. We'll go to war if you show us there's a real threat. They didn't. He went to war. It was all a big lie.
Možete li dati nekoliko primjera orkestriranog djelovanja velikih medija? Na primjeru SAD-a, od kuda stižete.
Oh.
Nije teško pitanje.
No. Why? Have you ever heard of depleted? Has the average person ever heard of depleted uranium? Maybe they have here in Croatia. In America, nobody. Virtually nobody knows about it, but they're all breathing it in. It's all inside their body. It's toxic substances which were part of the weaponry used in places like Israel and the Middle East and so forth, and the recent, the wars over the last 20 years there. It's covered the whole atmosphere, but yet nobody knows anything about it. But they all know that there's a, young lady in America named Britney Spears who shaved all her hair off. I mean, so they're feeding us information that makes us completely stupid. Okay, and you can see this in the faces of Americans. They are like a hollow shell. There's nothing in there. The average American, they're confused and lost because they don't have the real information makes us feel good. The ancient philosopher Aristotle said humans, for some reason, have this curiosity to know things. Well, if you take that out of someone, they're not human anymore. Okay, so the average person in America goes on believing all the lies and what they hear. And that's the news, they think. So the fake, non-real information they think is the real. So specific examples, is a football game the biggest piece of news in the day, or that the U.S. military slaughtered another 50 people in Pakistan. Is that the news? They'll put the football game on first, and maybe people are so used to, the U.S. military killing people in all these wars that they won't even cover it anymore. So the football game becomes the dominant thing in someone's mind, and they no longer think about the casualties of the wars that American soldiers are carrying out. See how your psychology is created, like we were talking about earlier. You become concerned with one thing because it's displayed for you in the media, not another. So the important things are forgotten, and the non-important things are made to be your consciousness.
Ono što opisujete staromodno bi se moglo nazvati ispiranjem mozga, programiranjem, hipnotiziranjem. Puno je naziva za takav način djelovanja. A ono po čemu, koliko ste predstavili u knjizi, se takve stvari mogu uočiti je to što se na svim mrežama istovremeno predstavljaju uvijek iste vijesti kao senzacionalne. Naravno, pitanje se nameće, ne bi li možda netko drugi pokušao zaraditi neki novac s nekom drugom viješću koju nitko drugi nije objavio i slično. A takvih priča svakako ima. Naravno, korporatisti očito nije teško im utjecati na medije kad ih posjeduju. No, mogli bi sada, kad pričamo o korporatizmu, zahvatiti ga po nekoliko točaka koje ga čine, s obzirom da je tema poprilično široka, a korporatizam, koliko sam shvatio iz vaših knjiga, prije svega čine mnogobrojni mitovi koje zapravo treba na neki način jednog po jednog uzimati u obzir i promatrati. Bavite se recimo temom da je netočno da je nafta neophodan pokretač svijeta, što je danas teško zamislivo. Nekad davno smo imali čak i konoplju koja je bila daleko sofisticiranija i naprednija. Ispričajte nam malo kako bi svijet mogao biti bez nafte, koliko bi koristi mogli imati od zaboravljenih biljaka, poput konoplje recimo, i kakve su sve njene osobine.
Well, with hemp, you or I could grow it, and we can create our own oil. You can make anything out of. Henry Ford built a car out of hemp. You can make metal-like substances and so forth. But see, you or I could grow that in our own backyard, for example. But with oil, it's far away. Nobody can see it. Since nobody can verify how much is there, we can't see how much is there. They can say, "Oh, there's not much left. We're running out." So the supply is low and the demand is high, so the price goes up artificially. It's all fake. Okay, I mean, and the reason is because remember when oil went to $150 US dollars a gallon a few years ago, and then it went back down. If I say if all our economics professors are telling us that supply and demand rules the economic landscape of the world, well, that doesn't make sense then. It shouldn't have gone up like that and then come back down. So, but anyways, with hemp, that's a substance that can be controlled by the people, and that's the ultimate enemy of corporatism. If you grow hemp and I write a book, and I want to trade you hemp oil because it's incredible. Hemp seed oil is one of the most healthy substances on the planet. And I want to trade you hemp seed oil for a book. We trade products. We cut out the New World Order. We cut out the corporatists. See, that's power. That's what the American Indians did. That's what always the corporatists like to get rid of. When you go to, there's a store called Walmart in America, huge stores which sell every product. If you go to Walmart and you buy a product, what you do is you give some of your money to that person, but that person didn't create the product, and they get almost none of the money, maybe a penny of what you gave them. Instead, it goes to someone far away who didn't even do any of the work. It isn't even there present. It doesn't have anything to do with anything, except they say we own it, and so therefore we get all the huge cut of the money. That's the problem. See what the American Indians did, for example, to bring them up again. They cut out that. They didn't have that process. Well, they bought and sold directly. That's what hemp has the power to do. There's a revolution in America that's brewing, a medical marijuana and hemp revolution, which I think will take off, but it has to be done where the corporatists don't get in and take over the industry. It has to be from person to person. That's the only way humans on planet Earth will gain freedom, is if we sell and trade resources directly from each. As soon as you have a person involved who doesn't do the work, then you have corporatism and monopolistic takeover.
Spomenuo sam naftu jer je zapravo iznenađujuće da postoje alternative za naftu. Kod konoplje od nje se mogu raditi cigle, odjeća, lijekovi, hrana, naraste 3 metra za godinu dana, održava tlo živim i slično. Bavite se drugim mitovima, pa možemo malo proći kroz njih. Recimo, tvrdite da u Americi postoji mit o privatnom vlasništvu, da Amerika zapravo nije kapitalistička zemlja koja se temelji na slobodnom poduzetništvu i privatnom vlasništvu. Na koji način bi se moglo vidjeti znanstveno, logički, da zapravo Amerika nije zemlja privatnog vlasništva?
It's amazing that it's this way, where people think they own something in America if you have to pay the bank for it. Okay, and if you stop paying the bank, they send the police to take the land back if you bought land or your car or whatever. Now that's not ownership, but in America, people call it ownership. Okay, no, that's somebody else owns you something and you have to pay them to keep it. It's the opposite of ownership. Now, the same exists if I buy a piece of land and say I pay the bank off and I don't owe them any more money, after 30 years and, half my life savings and, I paid them 5 times the amount through interest. Say I do succeed in paying them off, but then I have to pay huge taxes to the government. So then it's also the same scenario. We own it if we pay somebody for it. Now, that's not, there is virtually no ownership, private ownership, where you have something, nobody can come and get it. If somebody tries to, the police will come and protect you. There's virtually none of that anywhere in America because of taxes and bank, somebody will owe the bank for something. So now this is how strange things get in America. You can have, people think it's a capitalist nation of private ownership when there's virtually no private ownership anywhere. That's how deceived, that's how artificial people's psychologies have become, where they think what is true is false and what is false is true.
I općenito podjela na kapitalizam i komunizam koja je bila u mori u 20. stoljeću dosta je zapravo čudna jer i komunističke zemlje su stvari akumulirale kapital kroz tvornice i slično, mada on nije bio u privatnom vlasništvu, pa su zapravo i one na neki način bile kapitalističke. No, idemo mi dalje kroz neke zanimljive mitove. Recimo, jedan od najvažnijih tiče se ekonomije. Pokazali ste nekoliko klasičnih novo-orvelovskih primjera dvomišljenja, znači rečenica koje su potpuno u kontradikciji, koje se nalaze u ekonomskim udžbenicima i slično. Riječ je o tome mogu li se predvidjeti ekonomske krize ili ne mogu. Postoji li nešto kao što je prirodni poslovni ciklus ili ne postoji? Ako ne postoji, na koji način se generiraju krize i na koji način se stvara vrijeme prosperiteta? Koji bi znači to bili mitovi koje eto ste čak pronašli u klasičnim sveučilišnim udžbenicama ekonomije kao opće prihvaćene istine koje u praksi često puta se same dementiraju?
This is one of the most interesting issues. In America, they will tell you on TV, it's very hard to know if the economy is going to rise, which means the big corporatists get more money and then the average person just has to work more. They will tell you it's very hard to predict when the business cycle goes up or the business cycle goes down. Now, they'll say also on American television, they have a channel called the Stock Market Channel, CNBC. They'll also say that if you raise interest rates, it has the potential to slow the economy down. And I say, well, wait a minute, if you just said we can't predict that, how can you know if someone does that, it could slow the economy down and essentially predict that? So to get to the point, the business cycle, as it's called in America, is completely predictable. If the Federal Reserve, which controls the money supply in America, just a few people control it, if they slow down their amount of the money that they release to the banks and therefore to the public through loans, and or if they change the interest rates that people have to pay on their, when they go get a loan to buy something, if the rates go up, people buy less. So these two things make it completely simple to control the entire economy. Yeah, you go ask the average American, can you control, is the American economy just completely spontaneous and undirected? Or are there specific things that a few people, maybe 6 people in the Federal Reserve can do to affect the whole economy? And the average person in America will say, oh, it's completely spontaneous and nobody controls anything and you can't predict anything. Complete lie. You can see it happening right in front of your eyes. And they will say on national TV in America, if they raise rates, the economy will slow. But the average person doesn't understand that. Not only is that going on, but further it means there's just a few people that control the whole, really the whole world. Because if the American economy is the biggest economy in the world, and therefore influences the whole world, and just a few people control it, then there's a few people who control the whole world. That's called a secret government. Okay, forget President Obama, forget President Bush, forget all these people who say that they control the world. The money controls behavior, which controls us. Okay? And if the money is controlled by a few people, the whole world is controlled by a secret group.
Spominjete mit vezan uz jednu od glavnih teza liberalizma, a to jest da potrošač zapravo kontrolira sa svojim izborima tržište, da potrošač odlučuje koji proizvod je bolji, koji proizvod je gori i slično. Međutim, zapravo potrošači kroz izbor ispada da ne kontroliraju ništa. Imate li, recimo, primjera kojim biste potkrijepili tu svoju tezu koja tvrdi da ona teza o potrošačima koji kontroliraju društvo zapravo nije točna?
Yeah, consumers could control everything if they wanted, but what they do is they settle for and they find acceptable the products that are presented to them. And they'll choose from, you know, the one news network over the other, which say the same things, or they'll choose, you know, Coke or Pepsi, which tastes the same, or they'll choose this junky American car, which will break down in a few years, versus this one that'll break down in a few years. So they're given these choices which aren't choices. Okay, the point here is that if Americans wanted to, they could just cut out, you know, all this choosing for them. And instead, they could just create their own industries. They could create any product they want, solar power, organic farming, superconductivity, medical marijuana, anything they wanted, just regular marijuana, hemp industry. If they just turned off their televisions, because American television is really bad. There's no show like this on American mainstream television anywhere. If they just simply did that and started industries, they could do anything they wanted. So they could cut out the New World Order system, the monopolistic corporatists, and give power to themselves by controlling industries that help rather than hurt people, but they don't. Instead, they settle for the junky products that, you know, often are made by slave children in China, which get shipped over to America. Instead, they settle for that so they don't have to think about it. That's essentially what happens.
Pričamo još malo o novcu. U zadnjih 3-4 godine do mnogo ljudi je došla izjava novac je dug, koja zapravo prije nije bila jako poznata. Nekad davno su naravno države tiskale novac, one su imali čak i neko pokriće prije 40 godina u zlatu, u srebru i slično. Naravno, zlatni standard je ukinut. Međutim, kada se to dogodilo i kako da je novac postao dug i što to uopće znači?
Yeah, if somebody was to give you land, say, here, just take this land, it's yours. You don't know anybody for it. Build a house, have children, grow a farm, do whatever you want. That's called wealth. But if you suggest that to the average person in America, they'll laugh at you. Oh, that never happens. No, because to get something, you need to go get a loan. You need to go get debt money that you have to pay back several times more through interest to have these items that the average person should just have as their natural right as being a human on planet Earth. No, in this world, you have to be a slave. You have to work to exist. Other cultures before ours, in primitive times and so forth, that was not the case. You exist, so therefore, this is all given to you. You can have these trees to make products. You can have this land to raise your children in safety and so forth. If the warring tribe comes nearby, you have this land to make weapons to keep them. Hopefully, just the display of weapons will keep them away and no conflict will arise. So what happens in America is people have no idea what wealth means. It's a philosophy. It means you have something that is mine, which nobody can take, and it gives me power. Okay, that doesn't exist in America. You have something that you have to pay back if you're lucky, and you work your whole life to pay it back, and your whole life is therefore given to the debt system. So money doesn't exist, debt exists. And the whole system is made up on that, and people are so used to it that they don't even understand that there's a difference.
Je li istina da zapravo sav novac koji američka država proizvede i stavi u opticaj zapravo je posudilo od privatnih bankara kojima za to plaća kamate na temelju nezakonitog poreza na dohodak?
Yes, the idea in America that there's a government for the people is completely fabricated. There's a couple people that Americans see on TV. President Barack Obama, he's always got a nice smile, and then he lies about everything. Okay, there's a couple senators that'll talk about we need war, and then they'll smile about everything. Just all a big joke. Americans think that's the government. Okay, and it has nothing to do with anything about their daily life. Then on the other hand, there's all this private money, private in the corporatist hands. There are people that have wealth in America. It's those people. Okay, everybody else doesn't. They own it all. Okay, so what will happen then in America is you will have just a few people on the very top who will have perfect ownership of things, and then in such a degree that they even create the money, where the average citizen in America just doesn't even understand that.
Kakva je uloga medicine, odnosno kako se ona uklapa u korporatizam? Danas više nije nepoznato da korporacije financiraju istraživanja, da to ima zapravo jako puno netočnih rezultata, da lijekovi blockbusteri nisu toliko efikasni kako se reklamiraju. No, kako se uistinu medicina uklapa u cjelokupnu filozofiju korporatizma?
How does the what fit in?
Medicina.
Oh, medicine. Oh, remember we talked earlier about how industries are created to hurt people? Well, there's no better example than what is called medicine. It's not medicine. Medicine is something that gives you physiological power or mental power. It's something that extends your life, gives you health so you can run faster, feel better, and so forth. In American medicine, if you have cancer, what they do is they will radiate you, which is something that causes cancer. So it's so absurd that, but I think it was Hitler who said the more absurd things are, the better people will believe it. Medicine is a perfect example of that. There's no cures for anything. I think the last cure was a polio vaccine. And if you look into that, it wasn't a cure. They changed the definition of polio right when the vaccine was introduced, so very much fewer people had it. That's right in medical textbooks even have that in their history sections of their books. But the average person doesn't think about this. They're told on the news, oh, American medicine is amazing. All these chemicals you can put in your body, all these machines and probes they have that can search your body. Now, here's a question for you. Why do we have cancer? Why do we have diabetes, osteoporosis, Alzheimer's, all these diseases? When explorers go and find rainforest tribes, they don't have any of these. They live long. They don't even have anorexia. So there's psychological issues going on here. Medicine is sort of the best example, the microcosmic view of the whole prison system called the New World Order that we're all stuck living in. And the best way to see the alternative, the way it should be, is to look at those rainforest Indians or American Indians. They used to call cancer the disease of civilization because explorers would go and find primitive peoples that were never encountered Europeans before, and they would survey 30,000 of them, the old people, no cancer anywhere, nothing that had symptoms resembling cancer. So the diseases are created by the poisonous food, poisonous air, chemtrails, you name it, bad psychology. And then what you're given to heal it is more poison.
Na koji način reagiraju recimo vaši studenti kada mi iznesete neke od ovih teza? Pretpostavljam da, kao što ste napisali u knjizi, mnogi od njih misle ili vjeruju da su istinite tvrdnje da recimo farmaceutska industrija godišnje proizvede desetke novih lijekova u koje je uložila stotine milijuna dolara i slično. Na kraju vi dajete dokaze da zapravo ona ne proizvodi nikakve lijekove skoro nikad. Kako se studenti vaši reagiraju ili nose sa takvim informacijama od kojih su neke, pretpostavljam, dosta šokantne za njih?
Yeah, most of the time I don't present anything like this to students, but I do teach them. Remember we talked earlier about the only way to know anything is with your eyes. I teach them that. I teach a class called Logic. And the essence of logic is how do you know anything? And that, you know, one way you can form a logical system is by having a verification system with your senses. Now, I can't talk about all these topics in a university. I talked about some of them when I taught at Purdue University, and I got in trouble. They said, no, don't do that, or else we'll remove you, and I had to stop doing that. So the answer is I can't talk about much of this. When I do sometimes bring up something like this, the students act in three ways. They can't believe it, and they want more information now. I want more. That's amazing. Tell me more and more. That's the few. Most of the students don't care. Okay, they're just thinking about MTV and, you know, football or whatever. And then there's a few students, more than a few, very, very angry. How dare you say something that disagrees with what I've been told? And I'll say, wait a minute, you can see it. What I just told you, you can see with your own eyes. It's different than what somebody told you, which you can't see. That could be a lie or a truth, you don't know. But what you can see, you can make it be, you know, you can find to be true. They get very angry, and they'll make up stories and go complain to the dean and the college administration and say, Jeff, he's bad, he told all these lies, and I'll just say I'm using empirical information.
Posebni dio medicine, koja je jedna ruka korporatizma, kako vi predstavljate, su mentalne bolesti, takozvane. Što su lijekovi za mentalne bolesti i što su uopće mentalne bolesti, kako se njima danas manipulira?
Oh, we've got a thing in America called ADHD. And that's basically where you tell a child if they do any kind of behavior other than sit there like a little soldier in their school classroom, that they have a brain disorder called ADHD. And if you ask the doctor who diagnoses them, say, doctor, can you show me some proof? Show me a map of their brain that shows the disorder. They'll say, I can't do it. We never did a map of the brain. Then I'll say, how do you know that there's a disorder? And then they'll say, the answer is because of their behavior. And I'll say, oh, wait a minute, then we're talking about psychology. We're not talking about medicine. So you're just making a judgment on what you think is normal and not normal. To answer your question, the mental diseases are all made up. If what I just said wasn't true, then why in the 1950s, in America, there was no ADHD. They didn't even talk about it. The idea was invented later in the 1970s. But in the 1950s, America had what was considered the best education system in the world, with none of this talk about ADHD. Now, ADHD and the poisonous drugs they give children to try to cure it, which doesn't work anyways, it's nothing to cure anyways, it inundates the school system, and we've got what's considered the third worst education system in the world. So that's just one way. I mean, if someone it's called schizophrenia. Oh, then people say, oh, well, that's a mental disorder. And I say, well, that's interesting, because primitive peoples, the person who had the vision, the schizophrenic vision, schizophrenic dream or prophecy, they were made the king, the shaman. So that was very successful for that person to have these abilities. So the whole idea of, if you just go ask someone, verify for me that all these mental illnesses exist, they can't do it. It's just all made up. You're supposed to fit into what is normal versus abnormal. What is normal is what is constructed for the corporatist superstate. What is abnormal is what doesn't fit in.
Posebna priča su takozvani antidepresivi, odnosno bolesti koje liječe depresije. U knjizi pišete da je zapravo depresija proizvod neprirodnog društva u kojem se ljudi nalaze i zapravo je društvo uzrok, pa bi trebalo izliječiti društvo da im se izliječi depresije. No, na neki način te depresije se uvijek liječe lijekovima. U ovoj emisiji smo već spominjali te lijekove. Dosta uspješno liječe depresije, pogotovo ako natjeraju čovjeka na samoubojstvo. To znači da je izliječenje od depresije u tom smislu potpuno. No, na koji način danas u Americi, a to bi trebao biti obrazac pomalo i za cijeli svijet, kako to postupno ide, se pristupa tim konkretno depresijama, odnosno lijekovima za depresiju, zbog čega svi ti Amerikanci idu kod psihijatara, barem oni koje sam ja vidio u filmovima?
Yeah, the antidepressants are a result of environmental problems. If you take a monkey and put it into a wrong environment, it'll run back to its original environment. If you take a lion and put it in its wrong environment, it'll go back to its natural environment. A natural environment for a human is to be surrounded by nature and live off of nature, creating products themselves that they trade with each other. Okay, if you take a human out of, and also in the meantime, being with their family, doing spiritual practices, and so forth. Now, if you take someone out of that, they will malfunction. And the first thing to malfunction will be their consciousness. If you take a mother away from its young children, which is absolutely common in America. All over, the children are put in what's called daycare. I mean, 70% of babies at 6 weeks old or 12 weeks old go into daycare so the mothers can go back to work for the corporation. Now, a huge percentage of those mothers become severely depressed. Well, of course they do. Because what's more powerful than the instinct to love your child, which I have. I've got 3 children. So it's environmental problems which give rise to these issues. But no, see, that you can see. I can see if I take someone out of their environment and put them here, they get sad. If I put them back, they get happy. So it's scientific. I can see it. But no, I'm not supposed to believe that in America. I'm supposed to believe, no, it's a brain disorder, which I can't see. I can't see inside your head to see what your brain chemicals are doing. But I'm supposed to believe some doctor, very fancy, telling me it's a brain disorder, that's the cause of the problems.
Zanimljiv primjer ste dali u knjizi onog što bi se definiralo mentalnom bolešću. Naime, test na Kraljevskom sveučilištu Holloway doktora Patricka Lemana jest jedan test mentalnog zdravlja. Sjećate li se tog detalja iz knjige? Možete nam ispričati nešto o tom testu? Kako se tamo testira mentalno zdravlje?
Basically, if you were suspicious of anything or believed anything that wasn't the mainstream view, what everybody else thinks, you were called mentally ill. So there was absolutely the idea of a scientific study was completely thrown out.
Znači, to je test za mentalno zdravlje.
Oh, no, it's testing how well you fit into a sick society, which is what psychology in America is. You're abnormal if you don't, you're normal if you do.
Spominjete brojne nedokazane mitove o kalciju, osteoporozi. Spominjete da su u medicini nauče o prehrani, da se spominju nedokazive. Koji su to bitni dijelovi koji bi recimo trebali biti u medicini po vama, umjesto ovih koje ste spomenuli?
Medical students in America, as I cite in my book, are taught that if you consider nutrition a way to achieve health, that is erroneous information. What will give nutrition is being healed from certain drugs, which don't heal anyways. They just reduce symptoms at most. So the idea of nutrition in America, now the general public in America is somewhat concerned with nutrition. That's why the organic food industry, which really isn't organic, is on the rise in America. Now, on the other hand, though, the average person in America doesn't know anything. They're concerned with nutrition but don't know anything about it. And medical students are not, you can go through all of medical school without being taught a class on nutrition. But if I was to analyze the chemicals of my immune system, for example, it's made of all these vitamins and minerals that when you go take vitamins or supplements, so you're feeding your immune system. That's why I can give a person I know vitamins and minerals and they can go 2 years without getting any kind of sickness at all. Because that's what your body needs. Your brain is made out of, 60% of it is made out of omega oil. All different parts of your neurons are made out of omega oil. Go ask a doctor in America, is omega oil important to take? I don't know. Or they'll say no or something like that. When it's, because they're not studying the makeup of the physiology, only how you can alter it with chemicals. So actual medicine, which involves nutrition, doesn't have anything to do with medicine in America.
Ne birate baš reći kada govorite o aktuelnom svjetskom poretku. On je prisutan naravno u Americi gdje vi živite, ali također ga prepoznate i u ostatku svijeta jer korporacije su nadnacionalne, pa tako štete i Americi kao državi kao i svakoj drugoj. Koristite riječi kao totalitarizam, fašizam, čak i komunizam u američkom smislu te riječi. Kod nas ta zvuči neke druge konotacije. Drugim riječima, diktatura. Međutim, mnogi ljudi smatraju da diktatura kad imamo jednog diktatora, centralnu vlast i onda se to sve to piramidalno širi. No, to je možda još jedna kriva prerudžba diktature, jer ovdje pričamo o diktaturi koja zapravo nema jedan vidljivi centar, nego ih ima barem nekoliko. Kakva je zapravo priroda te diktature i po čemu je cijeli taj sustav koji se nameće sustavno svijetu, tako i u Europi isto u zadnjih 10-15 godina, 20 i duže, po čemu je on zapravo diktatorski?
Okay, and what we're usually taught dictatorship is there's somebody you can see who controls everything. Hitler is always the example in America used. And if he's the dictator, why did he get so much money from Ford Motor Company, from IBM? They gave him the little population machines, just gave them to him basically at a huge discount. When you go to the Holocaust Museum in the United States in Washington, D.C., you walk right into the building, they have the population machine that says IBM. the idea of a dictatorship is put everywhere in front of everybody's face in America. The guy in North Korea, Saddam Hussein, everybody gets all riled up and angry. Oh, those dictators. And nobody stops for a second to think, how did Hitler come into power in 4 years and take Germany from economic desolation to the world's superpower? Because he was funded. Instead, Americans will think, oh, he was just a smart guy. He knew how to build the nation up or something. They don't trace the money. So the whole idea of dictatorship that the average person in America, at least, thinks of has nothing to do with anything, because they're not looking at the real dictators. Nobody really knows who the real dictators are. Remember we talked earlier about there's the corporation, the CEO, the board, and then who controls that? That's the real dictatorial power, but nobody really knows exactly. You've had David Icke here before, and he says it's in a super advanced entity of some sort, not necessarily human. There is some argument to that, because a lot of the technologies that we see in the world don't seem to have human origin, like Morgellons disease is one. So it is possible that behind all this is some non-human entity. There is some evidence to support that claim.
Što bi odgovorilo na pitanje kako su ljudi mogli napraviti nešto tako neljudsko kao što je korporatizam. U svakom slučaju, bio je prvi dio razgovora sa Jeffreyem Gruppom. Hvala, nastavit ćemo. O prirodi i pravim ciljevima korporatizma drugi slijedi za tjedan dana, kad ćemo dignuti još koji veo sa pitanja što korporatizam predstavlja, koje namjere sadrži i zašto, i koliko je daleko stigao ovako neprimjećen. Laku noć.